and was in the semifinals again in 2018. He won his last game against another amazing player, High Spirits, in a game with no numbers. He is very good at this game. Emptyeye is a great player. So certainly he's capable of it, but MisterHomes is a difficult one to take down. So it's going to be a challenge.
It most certainly is. And the object of Dragon Warrior is for our racers to find and defeat the evil Dragon Lord. We've already gotten things started underway here. Got an instruction from the king. They were given the Fighter's Ring as well as the Death Necklace. The Fighter's Ring, once that's put on, that adds 2 attack power to their totals. And already we've got a town and a cave right outside here. It's the town of Cole. Oh my goodness. Things happening fast and furious here at the start. And a rather noted list of things to shop for. Meanwhile, Emptyeye taking a Hurtmore from a Drakey. And inside the search spot, we have the Fairy Flute in its vanilla location.
Just when we thought everything in the seed was going to look nice, everything starts becoming a little trolly. The Drakey is one of the few monsters you can consistently kill with 6, or I guess at this point 8 attack power. Having Hurtmore, followed by Cole just having the Fairy Flute, which isn't going to do you a whole lot of good right now, and it also means that finding the armor is going to be a much bigger of a pain than you might hope. Definitely not doing our runners any favors yet.
Absolutely. Now, the object is MisterHomes taking a death here as well. They're looking to find and defeat the evil Dragon Lord. They'll be collecting certain key items along the way to trade in for the Rainbow Drop, which will allow our runners to enter Charlotte Castle, home of the Dragon Lord. And they'll also be fighting enemies one at a time to gain experience and levels to get stronger, as well as gold to purchase weapons, armor, and items to help in their quest. And right now, a lot of those enemies are pretty tough in the early going here as a Demon Knight in the dark taking out Emptyeye, that ever so shadowy figure.
MisterHomes validates the seed on the ever-rare landlocked Sparko tile. Sparkover Bridge is a community thing, or community meme, I should say, which is one tile, or a bridge leading to exactly one tile of land. Usually, that one tile of land is surrounded by water, but in this case, it's landlocked.
That's Holmes' way of wishing Sparkover good luck, who is currently on another one of our sister stations here, competing in her first round match, 23. So a lot going on here in the Master Tournament this evening.
MisterHomes has pulled out a strategy that you rarely see, but may turn out pretty well for him. He has sold the Death Necklace in order to get a rapid 1,200 gold, which he is going to be able to use to buy some good starting gear here at the Cole Weapon Shop.
Well, it'll allow him to purchase a clear additional attack power. The thing here is the large shield. That's a huge 10 defensive pack. Clothes for an additional 2. Certainly doesn't hurt. Now, is he going to go back to grab the Dragon Scale? Is not.
I think at this point he's hoping he can get a little more, he can get a quick level and not have to worry so much about strength, since the club is the best thing he was able to get his hands on. But with 12 attack power, should be able to handle these Drakeys within 2 hits, if not 3. But with 75% hurt more, as we're seeing from our tracker here, 2 hits may be difficult to get off.
To answer the question, starting items in room were the Death Necklace and the Fighter's Room. A bit of a bold play here, as sold the Death Necklace for the 1,200 gold purchase. Gloves and large shield. The noted in chat of possibly putting on the. Oh wow, Magic Drakeys with Hurtmore as well. It seems like the living up to
murder bats everywhere.
And a note in chat about possibly throwing on the Death Necklace early. The Death Necklace being a cursed item, yes, it gives you 10 additional attack power at the cost of 20 HP, but allowed to, once you die, you're not allowed to, but you're basically kicked out of the castle. So that's a death lock. Areas versus, so not necessarily the best strategy, but interesting to see if this will, how this will play out here with the, on average hitting two. So 2-shot on a Drakey, and MisterHomes going to be the first to level 2 here, just 5.5 minutes into the seed. 2 power, 1 speed, 5 hit points, 10 magic.
Yeah, so that club is actually going to turn out to be a pretty good investment for Holmes here. With only a 2 strength advantage, it still is going to take, or at 10 attack power, still could potentially take 3 hits to kill those Drakeys, which so far is the only monster we've seen that's killable. And with the 75% hurt more, getting 3 hits off is a whole lot harder than getting 2 hits off. So even though he only has a club with such a low second attack, or such a low strength gain for that second level, it's going to really work in his favor. Hurt mores everywhere, and the Magic Drakeys have 75% hurt more as well as the Drakeys. So, have we even seen another monster other than those 2?
So far, not to my knowledge. I mean, there's been so much going on here in the early going. But now a little bit of exploration on MisterHomes' part. Looks up to the north, finds a dead end, and circles on back, and is just trying to check as much of the area as possible, and, well, another Drakey. You know, just to shake things up. But doesn't cast hurt more. Another 3 experience for MisterHomes.
This has got to be the longest I have ever seen a seat go, with only seeing 2 different monsters. Even when venturing off into other zones, it doesn't seem to help.
So now 17, the target number, and there's a hurt more, and Holmes is just kind of rolling the dice each time here, and, well, Emptyeye finding out, well, there's another hurt more spell. So far, the early advantage of selling the Death Necklace going to MisterHomes. We'll see if that's a decision that could potentially come back to bite him later in the seed.
Lorgon in chat noting that one idea could be to go check the swamp for enemies, and now that he mentions that, we have seen a Demon Knight in the swamp up to this point, so there has been a 3rd monster that I have forgotten about.
And a ghost on Holmes' side. Yes, he finds, not only does he find a ghost, but there's a town to the west here, as well as another cave. Is the Spectre going to let him get there? Yes. And it's Hawksness. The abandoned town just chock with enemies. Oh, and another tease. But there's another town, my goodness. So that was the Staff of Rain cave. Our runners will be, once they find the Silver Harp, they'll be trading that in to that old man in the cave. And there was another town south of that cave, but a Star Wyvern takes out MisterHomes before getting to that point, as the Green Dragon taking out Emptyeye inside the Swamp Cave.
So at this point in the Swamp Cave, we have seen a Demon Knight, a Rogue Scorpion, and a Green Dragon, if I recall correctly. So that is not going to be fun, and that is also sharing the first, is also the same as the first of the Mountain Cave. And so that's also going to cause problems when they try to make that dive if they find it.
A little bit of hesitation here on Emptyeye's screen. Perhaps a joyous expression of 0 kills. I love it. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, Holmes just really showing his experience here with the fact that he could sell the Death Necklace and realizing that, because that's something that's not on most players' radars.
Oh, but wait a minute.
Across the Swamp Cave?
The other end of the swamp, and we've got a set of wings, some big bucks, and a tour. But still, that'll allow Emptyeye to potentially buy something later, if there's one in town. No weapons. So, I mean, a small shield. And there's also the Dragon Scale. Once that is put on, that will add 2 additional defense to Emptyeye's total. And there is the Dragon Scale. Meanwhile, Holmes up to level 3. Oh, but look at this enemy set here. Is Emptyeye attempting to get away? Meanwhile, 2 power, 6 speed, 10 hit points, and a spell of Hurt More at level 4.
Oh my. Now the good news for Emptyeye here is that he has the capability, with having the Dragon Scale and the Fighter's Ring, even with 40 gold, to actually purchase a club here at Cull. And so and if he opts to do so, it looks like he's actually taking on the Magic Drake, or the Drakey instead, and has managed to get 2 hits off. Wow. Getting really good luck with the Drakey failure to use Hurt More.
Now books it to Cole. And a note in chat here, the 37 hit points at level 4, possibly worrying as he sold the Death Necklace, but gains 5 hit points, 5 magic points. I mean, with the early Hurt More here and all these specters that are nearby, that idea. And Emptyeye opting to go back into Swamp Cave.
It's possible that he still doesn't think that the bamboo pole is enough to get him successfully through the Drakeys, and is wanting to go back, and is not thinking about the fact that he has stuff he can sell at the shop. Maybe they're not thinking about the fact that Cole has a shop because we don't use it very often, or something of that nature, and so he's looking for a second set of money in Garenham to finish making his purchases.
He's getting a nice boost at level 6, especially at 23 agility, but already an enemy of a golem, realizing it's not Hurt Moreable, and is just going to opt on out. Wow, 16, 7, 15, 10, and a spell as well here of Stop Spell at level 7. And having that spell of Hurt More just giving an exponential as far as experience goes. To get off the schneid of that. Emptyeye trying to do what he can with the little bit of offensive power, the bamboo pole, also the chainmail and small shield that was purchased at Garenham, but trying to get back over to Garenham and keeps falling to the Demon Knight here in this case, all the tough enemies that are in the Swamp Cave. So Mr. Holmes trying to make his way down to the town, and it is Rimmildar. So keys are able to be bought now.
This is a nightmare scenario for Emptyeye at this point. You know, when you're playing against someone of Mr. Holmes, you need to be able to find a little edge here and there, and to be stuck behind and know you're stuck and know, hey, one excellent move here is going to give him the next level, which, you know, you don't know what it is, but are assuming it's something that's usable. And then and to be stuck here this late in, and you're already frustrated. And then when you find Hurtmore at level 4, find keys so nearby, it's just a, you know, gut-sinking feeling, because you can't fathom that Holmes didn't get to those points before you. It's just been a really rough set of luck, and yeah, really, it's just been a bad luck. If there's something had been in the back of Garanham, Emptyeye would be in much better shape. But that gold was all he got. So his real hope now is for really bad HP gains and Death Necklace Seed to end up being required at the end.
Well, Emptyeye was able to get through back to Garanham, grab and was able to club, but now here is the Treasury and Tantagel. We've got a set of wings. We've got some big bucks. Erdrick's sword. Oh my goodness, and the silver harp as well.
I'm kind of speechless at this point. Holmes has already found the Silver Harp Cave, which is the one that's over there right by Hawksness, and so he should be able to turn that in as soon as he wants to. With the sword, that's obviously putting him in pretty good position. Got Hurtmore. He knows where Hawksness is. I missed what the spike tile was.
The spike tile in Hawksness was a golem. And we have an empty chest here in the back of Tantagel's basement, the Stones of Sunlight Cave. So I believe that was... Did he...
I'm not sure. I assumed he'd have lost... I don't remember him buying herbs. And I don't think he restocked his keys unless there was one in the treasury. Oh no, he did restock his keys right before he went down at the back of the castle, so that would have been a key.
And level 8 for 2 now, and is now going to head to the town of Hawksness. Has found Garanham.
Also significance, Emptyeye has found a ghost, which I'm not sure he'd gotten far enough west to see up to this point. With the club now and the extra added strength for level 2, those are definitely killable with the chainmail. He's defense breaking, so that's certainly an easy monster to get to level 3 on. But again, something you could have found 10 minutes ago, and so it's I would not want to be in Emptyeye's shoes right now.
Emptyeye opting not to go south and did not see where. And looking at Mr. Holmes' inventory, we were able to confirm that the Stones of Sunlight Cave did have a magic key in Holmes' inventory.
Emptyeye has now realized that he can grind the ghosts right here over by Hawksness, and so he's traveling that desert. Which even if he decides just to do that for the next 2 levels, he'll get on to Hurtmore, at level 4, which shouldn't be too far away, and he can start just really trying to make some headway into the sea.
Holmes, meanwhile, has found a cave, and I believe, based on the movement, it is the Aaron. So there will be axe chests here. The drawback to having the skill of navigating a cave in the dark is you leave the guesswork to the commentators, but there should be 3 treasure chests up here. The magic key. Second one is the stones of sun items, and a cursed belt. And immediately going to potentially Death Warp here. Fire Breath, and is going to warp back to the castle, possibly with the thought of a gold grind, since we did see that in coal there is a silver shield. So what's going to happen here is, having opened those 3 chests, every time you go to the overworld, the chests reset. So as long as Holmes takes the right chest, if he doesn't go to the bottom left here, which he is not, so he has opened 8 chests. Now this 9th one he can just continue to take over again, because the game only treasure chest is open. So the 3 that are in the throne room, they're automatically tracked as open, so that way you don't take them over and over again. There's those 3, plus the 3 in Garen's grave from the Death Warp, then the 2 here in the treasury, and the 9th one, or the 3rd chest in the treasury, 9th overall. That gold can be taken over and over. Mr. Holmes is already, well, up over 12. He's probably going to make his way up 14,800 mark for the silver. Get what armor there was there. If there's a, well, the second best armor in the game and best armor money can buy, it's probably he's stopping at 17.9. Leads me to think that there was a full plate armor as well.
And in the meantime, Emptyeye he's started on the desert to try to grind ghosts, but he found these poltergeists, which have been really nice to him, and he's been able to kill a couple of them, and is now going to get his hurt more level, and can start taking his frustrations out on some monsters. He was able to make good use of the chainmail and herbs that he got to be defense breaking the poltergeists, while being able to hold off all of so he could trade 1 for 1 with them and heal when that didn't work. And so he was able, with that complement, to take out 2 poltergeists and get himself to level 4, and just rapidly like that get himself to level 5, and hopefully make some really rapid progress.
Meanwhile, here's level 9 for Mr. Holmes. 3, 8, 5, and 12 are the numbers on that. Holmes now going to go and trade in that silver harp to the old man here to get the Staff of Rain. So that is 2 of the 3 major items that are needed. The Staff of Rain, the Stones of Sunlight. All that's missing is Erdrick's Token, and it's going to be, well, in a few potential spots. It can be one of the 2 search spots, either guarded inside of Tantagel, which we know is by that golem. It could be in an overworld spot determined by the town of Cantlin, or I believe it might be in a treasure chest.
And as Smashy has noted in chat, Emptyeye took a turn with that golem and found out that it has hurt. And so that may be something worth taking on. Is now showing the stats here. Shows a 25% heal and a 50% hurt. Heal on the golem is not that bad of a skill, because they have very poor defense. And so it takes a fairly minimal amount of attack power in order to swing through a heal. With 25%, it's not going to be that big of a deal anyway. But it's possible that Holmes could take, he has the flute, have the chance to take on the golem right now if he wanted to, and might have a chance at surviving it.
Well, the difference is that's knowledge that Emptyeye has that Holmes does not regarding that casting of hurt. So for all Holmes knows, that golem is punch him right back to the start. For all we know, we'll say, catch these hands.
Yeah, so at this point, Holmes probably isn't thinking about it, because like you just said, he doesn't have the knowledge yet. So he's probably going to go until he gets a heal more, or at least a heal spell before he takes that attempt, unless he gets a massive increase in power in one of the next couple levels. Probably content to keep looking for the grave up to this point. But I say that, he's probably content to look for Cantlin at this point. I don't know he'll even dive the grave until he finds Cantlin. Or not the grave, the mountain cave, rather. He's already seen the grave.
And as noted here, Holmes is back in... Well, that's the other factor as Holmes is now back into Hawksness, is he does have the fairy flute. So he can use that to put the goal... So all he needs is 8 attacks, averaging 14 to 8. The golem can have up to 100. He's got... wow, an excellent move for 79. So that's going to cut it down. He maybe only needs 2 or 3 more hits here, and he takes it out while 10. Everything coming up Holmes here. And there's Erdrick's token and a heal spell.
What that means is that Holmes will not bother, has no need to check any more chests in the game, so he will not bother doing so if he comes across the mountain cave. He's not going to redive grave, he's not going to go through tablet. He has absolutely no interest in any chest for the remainder of the game, and is now just in, let's kill everything we possibly can as fast as we can, and hopefully find Cantlin along the way.
Yeah, crazy to think that Mr. Holmes at this point, 26 minutes in, is bordering on being in grind and go mode. He just needs to find, the only cave that he does need to find is the Jerk Cave, the Rainbow Drop Cave. He don't have all the items, most notably Erdrick's token, out of the cave like the jerk that he is.
Even more notable about the idea that this early, he's pretty much, or practically in grind and go mode, is that, 7 minutes in, nobody had a kill. And so he's really taken that slow start and launched from it.
Emptyeye, meanwhile, has found the tablet cave. Going to be anything of too much significance. And Emptyeye pulling a classic Burgundy move, literally taking the stick.
Holmes, I believe that was Holmes' first attempt across the swamp cave. I could be wrong on that, but if it is, he basically just was proved that he has no interest in chests because he didn't even bother checking the back of Garanham when he was right there.
Holmes did go earlier and see that it was wings and money and a torch, and didn't really bother otherwise.
All right, then.
Oh, last hurt more for Emptyeye, and it misses. Tried to explore on minimal resources and ends up taking the death back.
It would be nice for him, or it could be useful for him, for that death to potentially send him going back west instead of across swamp again, which would allow him, of course, to find keys, which looks like that's where he's going. So this will work out for him pretty soon.
That's right, Emptyeye still hasn't seen Rimmildar, which once he goes a little bit south, there will more than likely be that feeling of, oh no, Holmes found this 15 minutes ago. Maybe 20.
Meanwhile, he's having trouble even getting there because the green dragon decided to block 2 consecutive hurt mores. I believe the green dragon's only a 1 out of 8 chance to do that, so not great odds.
That's correct. That is Yeah, 2 out of 16 or 1 out of 8 chance. So yeah, 2 straight 12% chances to miss. And yeah, the odds were not in Emptyeye's favor in a dubious way, to say the least. But now, Emptyeye is going to pick up the magic keys. And I would imagine be not too far away from picking up Erdrick's sword.
And if Holmes didn't know already, he has now learned that golems do indeed have hurt. He didn't learn that in Hawksness because he kept the golem asleep the entire time.
So now Emptyeye going to do a little browsing at Rimbledar here, and I was going to buy the copper sword to upgrade from the club. Once it goes back to the castle, he'll realize that that's an okay upgrade, but there's a much better one waiting at home.
I will say that this seed has been remarkably kind in the monster selection. For an early Hurtmore seed, sometimes you can end up feeling a lot more confident than you maybe should, because you'll run into a bunch of monsters that are either not worth a Hurtmore or can't be Hurtmored, and you end up assuming you're going to get that, exploring a whole lot, and realizing you're not gaining any experience. This particular seed, the monsters that have been coming at them have been great mid to late level Hurtmoreable enemies. You know, anywhere from the Droll Magi here and the Spectres, all the way up to the Green Dragons and Star Wyverns that are just very nice targets for Hurtmore.
And there is the Silver Harp and Erdrick's sword for Emptyeye, and that is a sight to see for him. Holmes, meanwhile, navigating into a rather treacherous area regarding some bridges. That's some of the windiness that is in the most recent version, courtesy of McGrew, the creator.
So Emptyeye... Oh, never mind. I thought maybe he was going straight towards the swamp cave to set up a gold grind. Because with the Garanham in the back of the swamp cave, those 3 chests can be used for gold grind in the same way that the 3 chests in the grave were used for Mr. Holmes' gold grind.
And here is level 12 for Mr. Holmes. 1, 3, 21, 2, and a new spell. So there's another nice HP boost.
We are finally getting close to being able to do damage to the Dragon Lord. We're not quite there yet, or at least be able to land a point of damage every swing. Not quite there, but getting there.
And you know, it just dawned on me, given how quick and wild the start is here, that I didn't mention, this is Randomania. We didn't mention what is randomized here in Dragon Warrior Randomizer, as Emptyeye now getting up to level 9. As you can see, the overworld map definitely doesn't look like the Alfgard you knew and loved as growing up watching this here as a kid and playing. Also, the contents of the search spots and treasure chests are shaken up and shuffled around, as are the locations of the towns and caves, the contents of the weapon and armor shops, the order in which our runners learn their spells, hence why we got hurt more at level 4, as well as the enemy locations and enemy spells and abilities are randomized. Our runners are guaranteed to learn all 10 spells by level 16, so still a little bit to go, only half of the spells learned at level 12. And the Dragon Lord, once our runners get there, and the vanilla version has 130 hit points, but here has a range of 150 to 165 hit points. And yes, one of the features of Dragon Warrior Randomizer to keep the focus on grinding to a minimum, or at least as minimum as can be. One of the flags that are part of the standard tournament flags is fast leveling, which means that the goals for experience are 75% of what you'd see in the vanilla version of the game. Meanwhile,
Holmes.
Mr. Holmes, oh, you got it, has found Breckenary.
Z-Man's favorite.
That's right, I should say, oh look, Breckenary. And the time that it took for me to say that, Mr. Holmes is in and out of Breckenary, and we got a couple of caves right by here as well. And Holmes, seeing that it's not the jerk cave, just hops right on out of it, and this is the one that he's looking for. So 37 minutes in is going to acquire the Rainbow Drop and now has the ability to access Charlotte Castle. And with the exception of finding the town of Cantlin to get the coordinates for Erdrick's armor, is basically in grind and go mode.
And Emptyeye, seeing that the Droll Magi has DL2 breath. I don't know if we've seen that on anybody's screen yet, because when you have hurt more, Droll Magi tend to disappear rather rapidly. And Dave UTC Plus making a good point in chat. Have we seen Sharlock?
That's a heck of a question.
That is a very minor point that we probably need to consider.
Well, it's not like they're ready to go in there yet anyway.
What you're really hoping for now is, in your homes, and you've seen all of this already, you're hoping to see Sharlock right next to Cantlin. Since you haven't seen either, you're hoping the proximity of the two is really close, because they're not really that close to anything else.
Okay, here's some good news for Emptyeye. He has found Garen's grave. So, as long as he makes it to those top 3 chests, he'll be able to get the Stones of Sunlight. But here is level 13, 7, 13, 18, 0, and a new spell. And there's the spell of Repel, which Mr. Holmes pretty much in search mode anyway, and has found a town here to the south, and it is Cantlin.
Emptyeye continuing to not be able to catch a break, getting sniped by a blue dragon before he was able to get to those chests in the grave. Wow. Hadn't paid attention to the 98 agility that Mr. Holmes has at this point. With the silver shield and soon to be the armor, that'll be up to 97 defense power, which means he's pretty close to defense breaking everything. Those are some coordinates.
And Mr. Holmes is going to not death warp back. He's probably going to stick around here and try to look for Charlotte Castle.
Yeah, that's the only possible play he could be making at this point, just because he knows where the swamp cave is. He knows these coordinates aren't countable, or if they are, he's going to need to start from the castle anyway. And so there's really no reason you wouldn't want to death warp unless you want to, except for wanting to go ahead and find out where Charlotte is.
And I think Emptyeye in the swamp cave, and the guardian there is the blue dragon.
The blue dragon with stop spell and baby breath is actually a really nice grind compared to the golem that we have at the golem we have in Hawksness. With higher attack power, the golem might be a better grind, but you can get that blue dragon down pretty quickly, and with 50% stop spell, you can get a couple of them in before you have to heal. Emptyeye doing the preemptive princess rescue. That could help him out a lot, because Cantlin is way out of the way, and so are those coordinates.
And without the use of the spell outside, gonna, face the blue dragon again. Could just run. And opts to do just that.
I'm wondering if he's deciding to pick up some wings to go back to the castle rather than wander out to the south.
And Mr. Holmes quickly found Sherlock, cast return, and it looks like, at least for the moment, is he trying to count these?
He may be trying to do a negative count right now, figure out how many tiles he is from the west coast and be able to figure out how many tiles he needs to be away from the east coast for that. And then because you potentially could do this count just by knowing how far it is the other direction. But 79-77 still leaves you with a pretty decent margin on the other side you'd have to count as well. So I think he counted it, found out it wasn't favorable, and is now going for the princess.
And Emptyeye taking a death here to the blue dragon.
So my guess as to what he was just thinking right there was he went to go rescue the princess, then realized that Garanham was right there across the swamp cave, and he could set up a gold grind using those 3 chests. And so he decided to get away from the princess rescue. He can do that whenever he wants to, and go ahead and get the gold grind set up. So he just kind of abandoned his plan and let the princess go back to her precious spot in the swamp cave.
And now Emptyeye printing money.
So, to go back to something from way earlier, we're trying to figure out what does Emptyeye need to do to catch up, because he's definitely been put well behind. Well, as you can see, Holmes, does have almost everything, but Emptyeye has a lot of the really important stuff, is going to grind to get the rest of the good stuff, and it does have hurt more. It's possible that by the time he finds everything, he might be 5,000 or 4,000 experience behind or so, maybe a little more, but once you get to those levels in the 10,000 experience range, that's 2 levels. If the attack power stays low, then you might be able to dive 2 levels earlier with the death necklace than you would without it. If the attack power is in the high 1 teens or maybe 120, that's pretty much always a no-go without the death necklace. And so if the levels go right, and Emptyeye could potentially dive 2 levels earlier because of having the death necklace, that does give him a way of kind of getting back into this race.
So it looked like, at least for a moment, that Mr. Holmes had attempted to, as you had mentioned, do that negative count at least on one of the the 2 cardinal directions of the coordinates, but counted along a line and wasn't able to get it. So now is back in coal. I wonder if this is where, almost defiantly and reluctantly, he will go rescue the princess.
Which really surprises me, because when you have Tove the dog as your sprite, isn't your first priority always to rescue the princess?
Well, I figured your first priority was to chase foxes.
Fair enough, but there aren't a whole lot of those in this particular map. I have to travel to the Zenithian world for that kind of fun.
Well, that would give Emptyeye time to catch up.
Yes, it would indeed.
But it looks like Mr. Holmes is, in fact... I could only imagine a slight air of disheartenment from almost admitting, fine, I'll go get the princess and the coordinates.
Well, especially considering, as far as I can recall, that may be the first thing that has gone wrong for Holmes all seed. So it's got to be especially frustrating.
So, Emptyeye now back in the swamp cave. And I believe so too is Mr. Holmes, who is rescuing Gwaelin.
Emptyeye failing the stop spell against the blue dragon, who then proceeded to land the stop spell against Emptyeye, was unable to win the damage battle and is getting sent back. If I remember correctly, when the stats were shown earlier, the stop spell resist on those blue dragons is 10 out of 16. That isn't really an issue when you've got Erdrick's armor and are immune to stop spell, but before that, when you're trying to get back to the princess, that can become a major problem.
Meanwhile, Mr. Holmes is bringing the princess, or literally and figuratively bringing the princess back into Tantagel Castle.
Major props to Zarnax for this sprite work. Thing about doing the negative count, or the attempted count that Holmes did earlier, is he may not know exactly where the armor is, or else obviously he would have searched it. but he's got a very good idea of the general area, so he can make a beeline for that and not have to worry about Gwaylin until he gets really close. Just speeding up that search just a little bit.
So now here's the casting of Repel, and Mr. Holmes gonna pretty much avoid a litany of encounters here, as the only enemies that he'll be able to encounter in the overworld while casting Repel or using the fairy water are the Axe Knight, the Blue Dragon, the Stone Man, the Axe Knight, the Blue Dragon, the Stone Man, the Armored Knight, the Red Dragon, the Golem. 6 enemies. That's it. Emptyeye, meanwhile, picked up the Staff of Rain. And is off by about 17 or so paces. Going to head a little bit further north. Probably still has another 10 to go or so. Or actually, strike that. Just 3 to go. And there's Erdrick's armor for Mr. Holmes.
Now, in my estimation, especially with this attack power, the Blue Dragon is the better grind than the Golem. Both of them are not bad grinds. The Golem obviously giving 255 experience, while the Blue Dragon only gives 180. But the stop spell usage by the Blue Dragon will make it fewer heals necessary. So I believe Holmes is going to head that direction. Oh, Holmes proving me wrong, opting instead to grind at Hawksness. So I was thinking that maybe rescuing the princess served Holmes well by allowing him to see the Blue Dragon, but he is deciding that the Golem is the better grind, and I would tend to defer to any decision Mr. Holmes makes as being the correct mathematical decision.
Well, figuring the frequent casting of Hurt and now having Erdrick's armor, as you can see, only doing 2 per, but then 32. It's a roll of the dice.
I don't know how much he's actually fought against the Golem. He kept the one in Hawksness asleep, and he saw a Hurt and ran from one earlier. I don't know what else he's seen from the Golem. So he may have been an attempt to see what does the Golem have, how frequent is that Hurt cast, etc., before he decided to, thinking if that's a 75% Hurt and nothing else, then that's a superior grind. Or maybe it's even Hurt and stop spell, and I just hadn't seen it yet. So that may have been as much a decision or a exploratory battle as it was a grinding battle. But it looks like he is happy with what he saw, and so he is going to continue to have at these golems.
Well, with the high defense that he has, he figures, all right, worst case scenario, I've got 112 HP max. The most the golem's going to melee me for is 36. And now potentially even less than that with this level here. 2 power, 2 speed, 7 hit points, 7 magic points. Another spell here at level 14. Make that a couple of spells. Hurt, sleep, but still no heal more. So we know that 15 at least is going to have to be the level.
Something important to note about that agility gain of 2 is that it pulled his defense power to 98. At 98 defense, he must have a scale equipped as well, so not quite as significant, but so he's actually at 100 defense. At 100 defense, or at 98 defense, you are defense breaking the Blue Dragon, which means that even in the turns he's not casting Stop Spell, he's doing anywhere from, and he's not casting Baby Breath, which is also not doing a whole lot to you. When he does directly attack, he does, I believe, 0 to 17 damage. And so he's not going to drain your health that much either, and you can get through. So you can get through probably 4 Blue Dragons before you have to start worrying about healing again. versus those golems, which while you could get through them pretty easily, especially with heal, you were still having to take 6-7 swings. So even though these are only 5 swings or so, you can get through several of them before you're going to have to heal up, and that's going to make this a very efficient grind.
Yeah, the stop spell being negated by Erdrick's armor. So yeah, this is just, it's going to fly through here and take out, golly, what, probably another 8 of these, and that'll get him up to level 15.
So this is the point to watch. Holmes is very keen on saying that you want to get as much done as early as possible, because you can catch up on experience when you're grinding. The experience gap dramatically shrinks when you're grinding. And so we may be able to see that here, as Emptyeye is still having to go and explore things, and Holmes is going to be sitting there and grinding. It's a 3,000 difference right now. Let's see where it is when Emptyeye is able to begin his grind. See what kind of league opens up with that, to kind of make the point that Holmes likes to make about how significant it is to get into grind mode as quickly as possible.
And there was a question in chat about Mr. Holmes not having the death necklace. The death necklace was found in the throne room. However, Holmes opted to sell the death necklace for the 1,200 gold. That allowed him to purchase a club, clothes, and a large shield to kind of get off the ground a little bit faster, and that's what helped build the experience lead. But depending on how these strength gains are the next couple of levels, it may be something that might come back to bite him, as he may have to grind that extra level or 2 in order to account for the additional attack power that would not be utilized by putting on the death necklace.
The other thing that, that may need to be considered at this point, or I guess the only thing left that's a remaining question mark, is I don't believe we have seen red dragons yet. Now, at 100 agility, you're a reasonably decent favorite to run from a red dragon. Not like crazy good, but somewhere in the high 50% to run from a red dragon. So red dragons shouldn't, in theory, be that problematic if you run into them in Sharlock, but enough of them, or just a bad run of luck, could cause some issues on a dive. But if they have something like sleep, then one failed run can still cause problems. Outside of that, everything we've seen from Sharlock looks to be pretty tame, and so I'm not sure what other roadblocks we could see at this point that might get in our way if the attack power is good enough.
Well, here's level 15, 7, 2, 10, 6. And there's Heal More. Now, also of note from our tracker Smashy, Emptyeye did not pick up the Stones of Sunlight in Garen's grave. He took a death before getting to those 3 chests.
I do find Holmes' decision to quit grinding to be a little interesting, just because, at 117 attack power, you can't even risk a dive and grind. That's just not enough, even with 101 defense power. So I wouldn't be expecting for him to cut that grind short, but he appears to be doing that. He still has not found Sharlock, as far as I'm aware. Maybe he did, and that's why he warped back. I may have missed it.
He did find Sharlock, and the moment that he did, he cast Return.
Oh, okay. So I'm about 8 for 8 on missing things. So I'm not sure what exactly he's aiming for right now. Maybe he is thinking he's going to dive and grind with 101 defense power. He's defense breaking everything but golems, armor knights, and red dragons. And so he may be thinking, I can probably gain a couple of levels on my way down, and without having to use hardly any heal mores. But it's a surprising decision to me. But again, I tend to think if Holmes is making that decision, he has some very good mathematical reasons for it.
It might be, I mean, as you said, the plethora of enemies that he's able to damage break, this just might be an overall better grind for him as he's getting that lay of the land, getting kind of the feel for what's in Sharlock, and grinding along the way as well.
That's fair. Even if this dive doesn't result in him hitting the level he wants, he'll at least know what he's dealing with, because now that I'm thinking about it, have we seen Arbor Knights this seed either?
I don't believe we have. We might have, but then again, I also played a seed earlier before we ran this here, so the two are kind of blending in my head a little bit.
Emptyeye is just a few steps away from the Stones of Sunlight chest now, so hopefully should be able to pick it up without too much of a problem. This blue dragon that sniped him. Oh. Blue dragon blocked his spell and he didn't realize it and tried to cast a hurt more. Hopefully it still shouldn't be much of an issue. At 95 defense power, it's taken the blue dragon a lot of swings to cause him problems. So barring something crazy, he should be able to get his stones and get out of here as rapidly as he possibly can.
And there are the Stones of Sunlight.
Emptyeye checks the spell list, finds he is still lacking outside, so has to make the trek back out. And so now he is in the condition where he just needs to find Cantlin. I don't know if he's found the Jerk Cave yet or not, but he will find it soon enough in the process of searching for him. So to answer the questions in chat right now, yes, MisterHomes can do 4 to 8 damage to the Dragon Lord right now. The Dragon Lord math that we look at for the range of damage you can do is you take your attack power, subtract 100, then divide that by 2. That value is the maximum amount of damage you can do to the Dragon Lord on a given swing. So for MisterHomes, we subtract 100, that's 17, divided by 2, that's 8.5, which rounds down to 8, so that's the max. Divide that by 2 again, you get 4, that's the minimum. So we can do anywhere from 4 to 8. Each damage point is relevant because it changes the distribution of the numbers in that range a little bit, but the range can be calculated, or is calculated that way.
Ooh, well, there's the stats on the Armored Knight, and not exactly tame. 50% stop spell's pretty good, but that 75% hurt more, not so much.
With Red Dragons and Armored Knights, hurt more ends up not being as big of a deal as it does on other monsters, because once you get the magic armor, the hurt more is going to do less damage generally than the swings of the monsters will do. That's more so for the Red Dragons than the Armored Knights, because the Armored Knights have a lower attack power, but both of them still swing pretty nastily, and so seeing hurt more isn't fundamentally different.
Now, interestingly enough, Holmes has fought all the way down here so far. He's on the 4th of 7 basements, has all but the 2 MP that he had cast to use Repel. I wonder if he's thinking if 16 has a big gain, that it's just time to go for game.
Well, it is important to note that with 101 defense power and 129 hit points, you are getting a lot of double attacks. He's
Wait a
going for the
minute.
treasury now. Do you think he might have
Did he
forgotten that he
forget
sold
that
the
he
death
sold
necklace?
the death necklace? Oh my goodness. I mean, there's nothing else that he could be possibly looking for in there. He has the fighter's ring. I mean, a good point from Smashy, our tracker here. Could be looking for herbs, but with red dragons being here and being problematic, well, okay, able to fight his way through. I mean, he has 4 though, so I don't know. That almost seems like a lot of risk reward.
Yeah, the odds of you having to use an herb in the process of trying to find those herbs is pretty high, so I can't imagine that that's the case. Maybe it is, but I think this is him forgetting he sold the death necklace because he did it so early. Of note, if he doesn't realize this and he decides to go check vanilla, and he is looking at least to go find the spike tile right now. If he does forget about it and decides to go check vanilla, he's also got the 2 chests at the bottom of the grave he would have to check. I can't fathom he would do that. I imagine he'd prefer to take that time to grind another level, if anything's remotely close at 16. But it is interesting to me that he checked that treasury.
I mean, that did happen, what, an hour ago or so? That's why I take extensive notes, because I barely remember what happened 5 minutes ago.
It's also the fact that, usually speaking, if I'm going to sell the death necklace, I'm going to do it for a weapon. And he sold it, and he did get a weapon, but it was the club. And that may not be as memorable as, say, if he got a hand axe or a broadsword. 13
wow.
power, that, I believe, is going to put him in go mode. At 130 attack power, according to my chart, at 15 swings, you defeat the Dragon Lord 71% of the time. At 16 swings, you defeat him 94% of the time. He has 12 hurt mores, 102 to defense power, 134 hit points. He's going to get several doubles. This is about as close to a lock as you can get without having obscene amounts of attack power.
Just the level of efficiency is jaw-dropping. So Holmes putting a little bit of risk in. Oh, it gets back attacked here, so he's gonna have to use a heal more right off the bat. So here we go. Starting off with 15. Oh my gosh, that's a max roll. And there's 8. We're up to 23. $36. Now 49. And able to utilize a double here, so he's up to 60. That's right, that was a triple.
Triple followed by a double heal.
Yeah, I definitely missed 1 or 2 of them here at this point. I mean, I've got 82. Now 93.
Yeah, that's where my count is as well.
Okay. But I could certainly be wrong. So now with that 8, we're at 101. and there's a min roll, 108. But it's a double, 119. And Mr. Holmes, barring a miss menu, is going to have, there's 133. $148. The next strike could, and it does. 150. Holmes is going to advance to the round of 16, the 8th finals, as it were.
And that was an absolute masterclass put on by Mr. Holmes there. Everything, or almost everything, went right for him, but he did everything you could possibly do with that good fortune to maximize on it, and just absolutely, just absolutely blew the tail off of this seed.
Yes, get out your GGs in chat. Mr. Holmes is going to advance to the 8th finals with an official SRL time of 70 minutes and 57 seconds. Well, it just goes to show, I mean, this is someone who has finished in the top 3 or 4 in all 3 of the previous tournaments. He won the inaugural one, was the runner-up in 2017, and I believe finished, as you said, either 3rd or 4th last year, and is looking to climb back to the top of the mountain. And with play like this, it's hard to count him out of being in the final 4-1. So Mr. Holmes is he did ask for a minute to a little bit of recovery after the after the moment there, but he is going to be joining us here in the commentators booth in a matter of moments here, and we'll get to hear things through his eyes.
Meanwhile, Emptyeye shows no signs of stopping. Don't know if he's seen the done, or he's like, you know what, this is my tournament race, I'm going to finish it. I can definitely respect that if that's the choice. That's probably how I would go approach it as well. But he is still on that ever-elusive search for Cantlin.
But he has found Breckenary, which means he will now go and get that. Well, he already did get the rainbow drop, as I see here. So he is looking for Cantlin still.
I don't know, or I don't remember this second continent in this area that well, but I am curious how far the armor actually is from Cantlin. I feel like it's not too far off, so the fact that he's already rescued the princess will help him get that armor in a more efficient manner than he might be able to otherwise. And I believe with that little ding, we have Mr. Holmes in chat. GG, Mr. Holmes.
Greetings and salutations, everybody.
Said it over the air as you were making your way. Just your pure, is jaw dropping.
Sorry, I didn't hear that full sentence. My pure what? Sorry?
Efficiency. Just your ability to just get everything in such a timely fashion, to plot out your ability to get the level and to have it be exactly what you needed to take out the dragon. It's more of a statement than a question, because I don't even know. I don't know how you do it.
I mean, I definitely knew there was a chance that the next level wouldn't be enough. But I'm like, man, with 102 agility, I really have to go to the bathroom. Let's just get into Sharlock and get this over with.
So I do have to ask, what were you looking for when you decided to check the armory in the basement of Sharlock?
I was looking to pick up a few herbs. I figured that I had to fight a couple extra battles, and I was down to 3, I think. So that's what I was looking for. If you're wondering if I forgot that I sold the death necklace, no, I knew that, and I was quite nervous about that, but just looking for herbs.
Okay, our tracker Smashy did point out that it was probably looking for herbs, but we both came to that realization. So I mean, he couldn't have forgot sold the death necklace, could he? It was more of one of those reactions.
Oh, that sounds perfectly reasonable. I was thinking about what you guys would be thinking as I was doing it.
So we have a question in chat from Ruler2112. Do you know what went wrong with your reverse count for the armor before you rescued the princess?
I think I ended up being off by 1 column, but maybe it was 2, I don't know. Again, I'm quite anxious during this race, or I was quite anxious, and I thought I did it right, but I must have messed up by 1. And that's all it takes. And I mean, if I was really persistent, I could have checked 1 column in either way, but I figured just get the princess. So, I mean, I was in the right area at least, but not quite.
We had figured there was almost a fine, I'll go get the princess.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I knew I'd gone, it couldn't be any further south than what I had checked, so rather than waste precious time, I was like, okay. I figured at the time, maybe we didn't have heal more at that time, right? And so I was thinking, okay, I've got to beat the swamp tile monster twice, and like, if that's a red dragon, that's going to be really, really annoying. So that's why I figured, why don't I try and do something cool? And it kind of backfired on me.
Chat noting that wasn't necessarily a bad thing, since we got to see the display of the sprite of Tov the dog with Princess Gwaelin.
Oh yes, I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I tried to walk sideways as much as I could.
So can you tell me about your thoughts of just in the beginning of that seed, trying to get off the ground before Hurtmore happened and you were flying?
Right. I mean, it's really a great unknown. Like, okay, so I had found just coal, right? Or had I found Hawksness at that point? I don't know, but I knew that there wasn't guaranteed to be anything weaker than Drakes. And if I was going to power through Drakes, then I needed to at least get the club. And so I tried a couple times to see if there's anything there. Because, I mean, a club, it's not that great of an upgrade. Like, is it really worth selling the death necklace for that? And after a few encounters, I was like, yeah, like this, I have to do this. I have to get going. And had I found something else, I might have contemplated doing a full reset. But after about 5 minutes, it's just like, well, you're locked in now. Unless there's something like a bunch of 0 power levels and say Rimildar had a hand axe or something I could have bought, then I had to keep going with the hand that I was given.
Well,
I mean, it's probably not the best
grind
answer in the
golem.
world, sorry, but I was definitely quite nervous after I found Rimildar, just because you never know, like, right? Someone, or obviously Emptyeye stumbles into Rimildar early. I mean, there's some tough enemies and some desert, but stumbles into Rimildar. Oh, I'm going to sell my death necklace. Oh, I'm going to get keys. Oh, I'm going to get Erdrick's sword. And just like, well, did he even sell the death necklace and struggle at level 1? Or did he make it to Rimildar and get Erdrick's sword? And am I really behind? And it's tough to race in those situations where it's really hard to peg where your opponent will be at.
So our tracker Smashy notes that the reverse count, you were off by 1 to the east.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'll have to take a look at it again and try and figure out exactly what happens, because I seem to always miss it by just a little bit, and it's probably something systematic going on that I need to figure out.
So my other question for you was that you opted to first go into, when you were in go mode, had the armor, you were a little ways away from level 14, I believe, and you decided to go into Hawksness to grind on the golems rather than go into the swamp and grind on blue dragons. Then as soon as you hit 14, you changed your mind and went to do the blue dragons. And of course, once you hit 15, you decided to go Charlock. I'm just curious why you just made the decisions for each of those decisions.
Okay, so yeah, it's a really good question. I figured, okay, both of the dudes have some weak spells. Like the blue dragon has stop spell and the golem has hurt. And so I figured, you know what, let's try and fight the more valuable enemy, like the one with 255 experience. And so I walked in there, and as soon as I saw that the golem had heal as well, I was like, okay, I don't really like this, but let's just finish the level, because let's say, for example, I got a big power gain, all of a sudden I'd be able to power through that heal and it would be a bit better. So I fought one more, got the level, and I was like, oh, no, not good power. So I decided that the blue dragons would be better. So that's kind of what went into that thought.
Looks like Emptyeye is opting to go with that golem grind, as we see here, and is now at level 15 and is still trucking on through here.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too long from then, I would imagine.
Yeah, it looks like Emptyeye has everything else, was able to pick up the armor, is basically in grind and go. Is just a little over 1,000, about 1,100 experience away from level 16. To answer the question, chat, 9750 the target number.
And of course, with the Death Necklace, MDI can play the Dragon Lord either direction, either get the 140 attack power and just mow through him, or use the high defense and HP and not worry about using the Death Necklace.
So the strength at level 15 was 76, correct?
75.
Okay, 75, so we would have been batting for 127 if one still had the Death Necklace. Okay, so I was thinking like, oh, maybe can you do it at level 15 with the Death Necklace, but no, it's not quite. Not quite.
Yeah, with no doubles, you're not getting 17 swings off with 12 heal mores.
Yeah, I approve of that math. You got it.
So, to kind of fill you in a little bit, Emptyeye had a much more difficult time with the start than you did. He got to Garen him a lot faster and was able to get his gold that way, but was probably about 10 minutes behind you in finding everything. Died right before he found Rimildar, so was late on the keys, got sniped in the grave, so didn't find the stones. Just had a lot of poor fortune in trying to advance, and so he played really well given the way RNG went, but everything kind of came up Holmes in this seed. And what was really fun watching you is that what we witnessed was what happens when a really good player gets good rolls or gets things to go in their favor, just what they can do with it.
Right. I will say though, like, I can definitely empathize with like things like not going your way with exploration RNG and just regular dying just at the wrong points. Like, I knew this was the kind of seed where early fortune could offer one a huge advantage, and so honestly, like, went through my mind, do I even just ask for a reseed on something like this? But I figured, no, it's not impossible. We can get it done. So yeah, I'm very aware of and can understand that could happen. That could have easily happened to me. So I'm just glad that it didn't this time.
Well, I've said it before in various seeds and races, and I'll say it again. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but it's even better to be both.
Do you, either of you offhand, know who my future second round opponents would be?
Yes, I do have that up here. You would be taking on the winner of the Amazing Toaster Edgeworth match.
Oh boy. Oh man, those are both very good people. And I always enjoy when they pop into my stream, so it should be fun, whoever it is.
Yeah, Edgeworth, the 15 seed overall. Toast is the 18 seed overall. So far, I mean, there haven't been many matchups, but we've seen one, at least on paper, upset. Somehow, Game Boy was the underdog against some scrub named Burgundy.
Oh, yeah. I thought you did a good job on that race.
Yeah, I did good, but he's the defending two-time champ. He did better.
You gotta make him sweat, though, and I think you did that.
Seed lines are always kind of funny things in tournaments like this. MisterHomes, Nest Cardinality, and Game Boy were all underdogs in the second round. In fact, only one higher seed won in the second round last year, and that was High Spirits. Every other matchup in the second round went to the underdogs, which again included Game Boy, MisterHomes, Nest Cardinality, and BT, who also made the semifinals.
Yeah, like pretty much at a point in this, people are so close that seeding almost becomes irrelevant. Just like, well, anybody in the bracket stage who has been playing for like more than 6 months has definitely finished higher than me in at least one, if not many, multiple races.
All right, so I got 4 months to go.
Yeah, sweet. I love how many up-and-comers we have. And what is my thought here? Yeah, I forget. That's typical.
Lots of up-and-comers, and it looks... it always creates new competition. It creates fresh matchups. And I don't know if I'm what you were trying to go for there.
Yeah, I was maybe thinking of like finishing off my previous statement by saying that like I know anybody can beat me in any given race, and so I just try and put as much pressure as possible onto my opponents and force them to beat me and try not to beat myself is what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know if how many poker players are in the booth or in the audience, but it's kind of like a poker player that's really aggressive, like in a good way. You know, they're going to take every edge they can get, and so if you want to beat them, you can't back down. You have to rise up to the challenge, and it makes for good races, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, one of the nice things about the bracket rounds is, as we've all said, there's just so much talent making it here, and it is really fun as an observer to watch and learn. Because when you see two excellent players, that are playing against each other, that both know the game and know what they're doing so well, and are able to make and calculate those kind of aggressive plays, it's a really fun educational experience as much as it is, a fun entertainment experience.
Yeah, and if you think it's crazy now, just wait until Dragon Warrior Randomizer gets into a GDQ. Then it's going to just absolutely explode. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't mind being on the couch for when that happens, but time will tell.
Yeah, I know it's submitted for AGDQ 2019, or 2020, depending on. Is it in December or January?
January.
Okay, so 2020. But yeah, you saw what having this in RPG Limit Break did for the community. So the more marathons this can get in, the better. The more exposure, the better. It's just awesome.
Absolutely. As Emptyeye making his way down the final basement here. I want to thank those of you joining us here from Randomania. Better late than never. As you can see on the screen, MisterHomes has already won the race here. I would imagine that at the conclusion of this, after some words with Emptyeye, we're going to take things over to, I believe, RPG Limit Break. Where the matchup of Up to NG and Melee Wizard will be going on.
What time is that one starting? Or is it already underway?
That one is already underway.
We had an 8, 8:30, and 9 o'clock today.
Nice. So it's probably going to be finishing in the next half an hour or so, one might expect. I guess I haven't seen the seed, but just eyeing up another fun race after all of this.
Oh, we do also have a 4th race at 11 o'clock.
Oh boy. Busy.
Yeah, that's also going to be on RPG Limit Break. That's going to be Ryguy 3745 against J-Man 1865. That is the, I believe, 5 and 28 seed matchup.
And Emptyeye is going to show us what level 17 was going to bring. Another 15 power. In case we didn't have enough already.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, this is going to be some revenge smashing here. I wonder if Emptyeye will put on the death necklace for the lulz.
Did he get any extra HP that level?
He did get 2 additional HP, but right now his attack is at 145.
I mean, if you're thinking about doing it faster, then yeah, Death Necklace is definitely a good way to go.
No, he did max out using the herbs and is going to just play it safe here. With 98 MP, 12 heal mores.
11 attacks, maybe? 10?
He's strongly debating the Dragon Lord's offer. And then is finally called a fool.
Emptyeye is hilarious. Like, he is just a legend. I can't iterate that enough. Everyone needs to follow him just for pure entertainment value. Just huge shout out.
Yeah, things were going by so quickly, we had very few I love it's that we could get out there.
Yeah, the stat gains were pretty good. Was there even any zeros?
There were a couple of 0 points. Chat made sure to note when there were some empty eye levels.
Oh, chat, you're the best.
Level 4 Hurtmore definitely makes it difficult to keep track of that, given that every time we glanced over at your screen for a few minutes, we were gaining yet another level.
Yeah, that zone right by Hawksness with the Spectres and the Droll Magies was pretty sweet for having Hurtmore. And I guess the Green Dragons around there too, right? Those were great.
Yeah, I had mentioned that that not only did it give you early Hurtmore, but it gave you a brilliant set of Hurtmoreable enemies to get you going too.
Right. Oh, and that reminds me. So you were saying that I was getting good RNG, and one thing that stuck out to me in particular that went in my favor, I don't think I missed a Hurtmore on a single Green Dragon. And I fought quite a few of them. And there's a 1 in 4 chance of missing. So I think I must have hit like 12, 14, 15, and that just makes your life so much easier when you're not like worrying about taking an extra swing of damage, or you're not worried about MP anymore. It's just like bang, 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 bang every time.
Green Dragon is actually 1 out of 8 to dodge a Hurtmore, not 1 out of 4.
Are you really?
Yes, the tracker has the stats up on the screen to verify that. But yeah, it's a 2 out of 16 hurt resist.
Well, I was wrong.
And everyone get out your GGs for Emptyeye, who has valiantly finished off this seed, even attempting Swagmore strats at the end there, and is going to finish this race with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 42 seconds. GG to Emptyeye. Played an excellent race and just had a lot of bad things happen to him in the process. And we'll see if he would like to come in for an interview.
Just signing off this channel, we're being told.
Feels bad, man.
It is one of the other tough things about this tournament. It's absolutely brutal because not only is it 2 great players, but every single game, but it's you lose. You start seeing some amazing players get eliminated, and it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. How is it not still going?
But yeah, that's the nature of one game matchups, right? Like super high variance.
And with that, we have Emptyeye joining us. GG, Emptyeye.
Thank you, and GG, MisterHomes. Well played.
Good game to you, sir. I heard you had some fairly unfortunate luck today.
It was a very difficult beginning. I'm actually curious how you approached the start of that seed.
So I definitely felt like I wanted to sell the Death Necklace, but then I wasn't sure if I should sell it for a lowly club. And after not finding anything weaker than Drakies, I decided, you know what, I have to. And even with the club, I still had to 2-shot the Drakies, and they hurt more than me half the time, so that was annoying.
Yeah, the selling the Death Necklace was definitely something that had crossed my mind, but I ended up not doing so. I ended up kind of making a bit of a hero run to the. I made a bit of a hero run through the swamp cave to get some gold, which got me like a bamboo pole, which didn't help a whole lot in itself. But eventually, I kind of got started because I had some herbs, and then found a. Oh, my co-commentator is here. Hi, Mario.
It's a me.
Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, I found like a bamboo pole, and then I found a ghost, and then I found a poltergeist, which I proceeded to kind of chip away at, because I did manage to get a couple herbs out of Garanham as well.
Right, that's a good idea.
Started. So.
Yeah, I think what actually really helped me was getting a large shield, so I was able to do the same thing, like chipping down a poltergeist to get level 4 or something. Go from level 3 to 4, whatever it was. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so I got, I think I got a chainmail and a small shield in Garanham, and then picked up like the bamboo pole and coal, and that was kind of my starting gear. I will say the start was difficult enough that I actually did request a reseed.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, damn it! Like, I hate that that's anonymous, because it definitely crossed my mind, and I kind of feel bad now.
Yeah.
But I figured, okay, like,
yeah,
there is the possibility of selling the necklace, so.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the things. Was I was actually telling Silver, this is Emptyeye, as you all know her, but Silver, that, you know, sort of the one thing that I sort of had going for me, such that it was I knew you were of course a very good player. In order to win, I would have to have kind of some unusual circumstances and take advantage of them. So selling the death necklace did definitely cross my mind. But like you said, I sort of did the math and realized, well, if I sell the death necklace for a club, I'm still not one-shotting these Drakeys. Their hurt more rate seems very high, so I don't want to sell it, and then, you know, I don't want to sell it and still not be able to get anywhere, and I don't want to put it on because I don't know where Breckenary is in case I have to take it off somewhere, even though, you know, coal is right there, but at that point I didn't even have the gold to stay at an inn in coal, so.
Oh yeah, I didn't even cross my mind to put it on. That actually might have been the right decision, honestly. Wow. Man.
It might have been, but anyway, yeah. Yeah, the rest of the seed, I don't know, honestly. I sort of felt like I got tilted kind of early on, and it... What is the stop spell resistance on green dragons, by the way? It's not very high, right?
Well, the stop spell resistance is randomized.
Or not stop spell, I'm sorry, hurt more resistance.
Oh, on green dragons? Oh, yeah, it's 1 out of 8. So you got very unfortunate a couple of times.
Yeah, it felt like it. I was trying very hard to not let that psych me out. Because I had, I think, 4 or 5 total all that just missed. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? But, yeah, so... I kind of apologized for making everyone wait an extra half hour after MisterHomes finished, but I figured at this point, you know, I kind of owe it to everybody, most of all myself, to sort of finish out the seed, so... you know, obviously a little disappointed my tournament is over, but I mentioned in my last race that I was just hoping to not go over, and anything past that was kind of playing with house money, and so I stand by that. I'm happy with my performance overall.
So do you plan on hopping in any more of the casual races since the scene has picked up so much?
I would like to. And I would like to, you know, continue helping out with commentary and things throughout the rest of this tournament. People will have me, so... it is something I'd like to do. I do want to start maybe streaming a bit more regularly going forward. So I kind of do it in pockets. I go on and off with the streaming. So
right, 50% randomizer, 50% legendary, a bard's tale.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, actually what I've been playing a lot of lately is River City Girls, believe it or not.
Right, I saw Magru doing that, but I won't get sidetracked, which I can very easily do. It's a great game.
Yes, good game. Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, like I said, I knew kind of going in, this is always going to be a tough, a tough match for me. And it's funny, I couldn't decide whether or not to be like almost offended at the bracket reveal. But the problem is nothing anybody was saying was actually wrong. So, I knew that it was always going to be tough. It was never going to be easy. And honestly, I saw the sword in the treasury and I was like, that's it, I've already lost. Because I figured my best shot was going to be something like, the sword is in vanilla location and I gamble that it's in vanilla location, for instance. So when that wasn't even an option, I was like, well, okay. It went my best shot. But it happens sometimes. So.
Well, I'll sneak this in there because things were going so fast and furious, we didn't really get much of a chance to say it. But between you and I, we've got for this year's bracket 0 wins. I love it.
Yes, indeed. I love it. And again, Silver will tell you that as I was getting those 0 stat level ups, I was at least outwardly proclaiming that I loved them.
Well, I look forward to seeing you stream some more in the future, and thanks for being part of this awesome tournament.
Yes, and I guess thanks for eliminating me. I'm not exactly sure. But yes, you are a top caliber player, and so it's I am honored that I was able to at least finish out the seed, given how difficult the start was for really both of us. Mario agrees. Hi, Mario.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for doing the commentary and restreaming and tracking today. Someone will probably give a shout out for that, but yes, thanks again.
Yes, absolutely. Mario the cat is in my way, so I can't read the commentary channel right now. But yeah, thank you absolutely to everybody commentating, tracking, restreaming, both for this race and throughout the tournament. Really appreciate it, and that's part of what has helped this scene to thrive, I think, of late, is that we've really been able to cover every race that wants to be covered. So thank you all for that.
Absolutely. Now, as I had noted earlier, our initial plan was to take you over to RPG Limit Break for the race between Melee Wizard and Up to NG, but the doggone thing's already over. As you think this was a jet seed, the losing time, I won't say who won or lost to avoid spoilers, but the losing time was 1 hour and 8 minutes and change. So definitely check that out on the VOD, to say the least.
That's impressive. All right, I'm going to head off and relax for a bit before I head to bed here. But thank you all, and GG, MisterHomes. Well-earned victory.
Absolutely, and Mr. Holmes has, as noted earlier, will go on the winner of the Edgeworth Amazing Toaster matchup. So that'll be coming up sometime over the course of the week here. But our night is not done as far as tournament races here. We have one more coming your way over on RPG Limit Break in about 40 minutes from now. It is going to be Ryguy 3745 against J-Man 1865. Make sure to check that out on RPG Limit Break. And make sure to give both of our runners a follow tonight. They gave a heck of a race here for you, MisterHomes and Emptyeye. And want to throw thanks out there once again to the folks behind the scenes. MathGirl718 taking care of the restreaming. Also Smashy on the tracking. And Thilotilo, always a blast commentating with you. Yeah, looking forward to doing so again here as the tournament moves on.
Yep, and thanks to you two for your help tonight and all your help throughout the tournament.
Yep, it certainly is a blast. Well, thank you so much for tuning in here to Randomania 2. Until we bring more action back to you in about 40 minutes over on RPG Limit Break. For everybody behind the scenes and in front, I'm FearonBurgundy saying may your moves be excellent and your seeds stay classy. Good night, everyone.